Welcome back to Oxygen Not Included, and today I am in quest for some liquids, specifically liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen. Now, the thing I need to do is pull them down. Now, before everything else, I guess I have to clarify, I already built these chambers because I knew these chambers right here would take quite a while to build and, try and make it work. But I got to the building part, and making the part where I'm gonna make it work, I'm not sure yet. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today, and I decided to record it because it seemed like an interesting thing. I've never done it, and it is essentially like the next step into rocketry, which is hydrogen and liquid oxygen. So I'm gonna do just that. So immediately, is I guess one thing to address is I have a bunch of super coolant, about 475 per tile, so that's around like 2,000, roughly below 2,000 super coolant kilograms. And I'll be using that to cool these chambers. So a quick summary is that I have, obviously I'm gonna need an aqua tuner, so I have an aqua tuner steam turbine set up here, and I set it up in a way that it'll cool it's essentially self-cooling. And then I have a triple chamber here with a hydrolyzer that produces oxygen and hydrogen, and then using this gas pump, it separates them. The lower one is the oxygen, the higher one is the hydrogen, and that's basically as far as I have built. It took quite a bit to build because I had other problems in the background that I was just solving, minor issues that come with, a large colony. Getting to the part where I can build the actual cooling element took quite longer because I had to send a bunch of space missions to get fullerene so I can make a bunch of coolant, and even then this is all I've got so far. Again, roughly like below, somewhere around like 2,000-ish, just below, because it's not a full 500 kilograms per tile. And so yeah, I also made a bunch of thermium, which is much more easier to come by, because if you didn't know, there's this trick that the wiki says that I learned, and that is if you already have a bunch of thermium, you could just turn it back into niobium in the metal refinery, and that essentially converts all of that, because thermium is made from niobium and tungsten, and the rare resource here is niobium. And the thing is it essentially converts all of that tungsten into niobium once you put it through the metal refinery. So essentially, once you have once you have a decent amount of niobium to make a bunch of thermium, you essentially have infinite sources of niobium at that point, because you could just keep converting tungsten into niobium. So I have a bunch of thermium here, and that's what I'm going to be using to build the aqua tuners. And then I'm going to be flooding the pipes with coolant, super coolant. So I have two aqua tuner setups here, and they're not gonna feed into each other, because the thing about liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen is they're both at extremely low temperatures, but even they have like very large differences. If I remember correctly, liquid oxygen condenses at negative 184 Celsius, and liquid hydrogen condenses at negative 243. And at that temperature, liquid oxygen will actually solidify into solid oxygen, which is what I don't want. That's why I'm separating them, so that they can run at different temperatures. So yeah, I'm just gonna be cooling this base layer down here. with thermium, and then more insulated tiles that will just cycle back through. Like so. I think this should be good, and then I'll just I could lower it a bit. That consumes less vertical space so that there's more room for piping the other one. And then a bridge. So yeah, this is gonna be this. It's essentially the same setup, but with just much more advanced materials. So this one goes in the upper one. Guess I'll just do this again. Yeah, like that. And then I guess I'll wrap this one around, just so I minimize the complications with piping. Yeah, that should be it. Now this is gonna add a huge amount of power to my, or specifically power consumption to my power supply. So obviously I have made some preemptive measures just so that I don't really risk too much in this, because this is quite it's quite a dangerous endeavor, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I'll get to that once I finish all this wiring. So what is the what is this contingency plan that I've been speaking of? Like, what am I planning to do? Or what did I do in the background before I did this episode? And it's a simple answer. So the thing is, coal is usually the emergency power source in the middle of the game once you're trying to advance and do much better power production like natural gas and hydrogen. But then after that, you kind of leave them behind, or at least in my case, I kind of leave them behind. And then they start to stockpile. Right now, I have a total of 308 tons of coal that piled up. This used to be 0, because in the mid-game to late game, you're gonna use coal a lot. And if you're like me, who builds hatch farms, those hatch farms, once you stop using coal, kind of get left there and they're still running, and I forget about them. And so I forget about how much coal I've made and how much coal I've excavated since that point, that it stockpiles. And you know what, I think this is a good part, or a good point in time to revisit coal. So simple enough, I already had this entire setup here for my petroleum, my secondary petroleum generation with molten slicksters. So I just built a bunch of coal generators in here to, you know, produce power. And it's made of steel, so it's not gonna overheat. And it seems that coal generators don't have an overpressure, so this is fine, since this is my carbon dioxide dump, because again, this is where I made petroleum with molten slicksters, and they produce heat in this place, which doesn't really matter because it's gonna be constantly regulated to stay somewhere around 200-ish degrees across the board. Yeah, with this whole setup. So yeah, might as well. And I use the power control station to make them way more efficient, because I mean, they give, right now it says that they're giving 900, but at base they give 600 watts, and that's a lot. Just for reference, a steam turbine at maximum gives 850. A natural gas generator, I think, gives 800. So it's For minimal output, it just produces heat and carbon dioxide. It's good to revisit coal, especially once you have a setup like this, because then it's gonna be completely regulated. It's made out of steel, so overheating isn't an issue. Yeah. Here we go. We're feeding a super coolant into the first pipe. That should get going real quick. Here we go, and then we're filling the second pipes. Alright. Cool. Now, the reason why I built it with thermium and use super cool. Well, the reason, first of all, I guess why I use thermium for these things is because thermium has the best thermal conductivity in general of any refined metal, and it's also got plus 900 overheat temperature. So these things, if I still overheat this, then that's on me. And also because it kind of makes these more efficient, and also because I'm dealing with super coolant. So yeah, the super coolant is gonna absorb a lot of heat and gonna dispose a lot of heat at the same time. So that combined with the thermium essentially just amps up how much efficiency there is. I'm actually gonna spill some liquid coolant down here, because this will further help facilitate the heat transfer. Because right now, it's just facilitating heat transfer through just this straight up gas of oxygen and hydrogen. Hydrogen is very efficient, but still not as efficient as a liquid or a solid. So that's why I'm gonna spill some liquid coolant here, because also liquid coolant is never gonna freeze. At least that's what the wiki says. And all I need to do is... Oh, yeah. Completely forgot. There's also the other purpose that it essentially tricks the high pressure gas fan into thinking that it's never at overpressure. Even if the... It's essentially the same trick as this one. If I go down here. Where is it? Yeah, here. So essentially you can trick gas vents to thinking that they're never overpressure by spilling a certain amount of liquid down there. As long as it's not over the overpressure limit. Say for high pressure gas vent, it's much easier because their overpressure is 20 kilograms. If you spill enough liquid that it covers it and it's below 20 kilograms, it'll think that it's, oh, never overpressure, even though if I go back there, the carbon dioxide per tile is at 200 kilograms. So it's that's the same logic. And it's easily solvable, you know, because you might think, some of you out there, might think like, hey, we're gonna run into an issue where once it does turn into liquid, you're gonna have to use a pump. And yes, I am. I can just feed it into a liquid filter and then just dump out the super coolant back onto the floor. It's just a simple fix, I guess. Alright, I forgot to change these temperatures. So this one is for the oxygen. It needs to be below 184 degrees if I remember. Let me check. Oxygen negative 183, so minus 14, give or take. If it's below, I'll just give a bit of leeway. If it's below 175 degrees, or if it's above 175 degrees, negative 175 degrees, sorry, I have to correct myself a lot of times. If it's above negative 175 degrees, it'll cool it down by 14 degrees again. That'll put it at negative 189. Yeah, so that's more than enough for oxygen, then for hydrogen. The condensation point is negative 252. So, yeah, rough estimate would be negative 245. That should be good. Yeah, that should be fine. And if it's not fine, then I'll just adjust that later again. Again, it gets confusing because we're dealing in negatives now, and a higher number in negatives means it's colder. Gotta remember that. This one's good as well. And immediately it's blue. So yeah, there it is. Now I just need to wait for this to cool. I don't even need this to be anything special. I can just make it out of iron or something because this place is gonna be super cold. Yeah. And then I just need a liquid filter, also iron. Oh, with all of the ladders that I've built, it's kinda troublesome. Oh shoot, the pipe. No, okay, we're running into issues. I didn't notice that this thing was built right into. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. Anyway, minor issues, minor issues. This seems like it's taking a while, so I guess I'll just send the mission out for more super coolant, I guess. Let me show you something actually while it's downtime. So what I have right here in front of me is a website, a lovely website called the Oni Assistant Oni Rocket Calculator. Now if you're at this stage of the game already and you're already at petroleum or steam or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You could use this for any stage of rocketry. You can use this to skip the whole calculation process of like where you want to go. Like say I want to send a rocket made out of petroleum engine and I have 2 cargoes that I want, and I use oxylite because I don't have liquid oxygen yet. If you don't know what LOX is, that's just liquid oxygen. And I set the distance to 10,000. This right here is the calculation for how much fuel and oxidizer you need. And it shows here, down here, how many of each module, the essential modules, you'll need. So yeah, you adjust this based on what you have and what you want. And the importance of having an exact usage of fuel is, if I go back into the game, these things have a maximum limit. So according to the calculator, I have to be at 564, and this one is at 564. As you can see, I've already set it previously. I just set the oxidizers, I set the oxidizers to 0 just so that they wouldn't fail it, because I wasn't gonna send this rocket on a trip for a while. But this is a good way of min-maxing your fuel. And you might say, why do I need to min-max fuel? And the thing is, for steam engine, for this rocket right here, that's why I have this rocket. For a steam engine solid fuel thruster setup, oxygen to make oxylite and steam in general is not that hard to come by. But for much more bigger builds like a petroleum engine and whatnot, this stuff requires precise. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. It requires precise usage of your fuel, because if you didn't know, obviously there's sliders here for each of these fuel tanks, and you can set it. This one is a maximum of 900, and this one is a maximum of 2,700 kilograms. The issue comes with the fact that despite how far you're sending the rocket, and despite how much fuel you've jammed in there, and despite how much fuel you're gonna use, it'll consume all of that fuel that was shoved into it. And again, you might say that might be a design problem in the game or whatever, but at the end of the day, that's the hand you're dealt with. Whether it's a design issue or if that's really how it is, or how it would be in real life, I don't know. But that's what you have to deal with, and you know, this is just me giving out a tip if you're watching and you've reached this point in the game. That here's a heads up, essentially, to save you on precious fuel, especially liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen, and even just regular old petroleum and oxalite. Because oxalite is easy to make, but at the same time it's time consuming to make, and it uses a lot of resources to make. So you still wanna min-max your resources there, especially petroleum. Petroleum you'll use a lot for generators, so having that extra usage on space travel it's a bummer if you waste a lot of it. So, you know. Anyway, this sure is taking quite the long while. Everything is chilling down to a very cold temp. The oxygen is at negative 174. It's stuck there for some reason. Meanwhile, the hydrogen is chilling to negative 403. But it's not condensing. It's not quite there. Maybe I need to lower these values. Maybe I'll set this to negative 260. And this one to negative 190. Maybe that'll do the trick. I don't know. Oh, I'm seeing condensation. It's trying its best to condense, but it's not condensing for some reason. You know what? I'm just gonna jam this place full of thermium, see if it likes that. This as well. I think that did the trick. Look, it's raining hydrogen. I have liquid hydrogen. It's just not visible because of liquid physics in this game and how things render. Well, it's disappearing again. There it is. It's raining. It's raining hydrogen again. Will it stay cool permanently? Is a big question. Yeah, though I'm not surprised that the hydrogen is the one that's condensing first, because, I mean, if you're at this stage of the game, I'm pretty sure you know that hydrogen is the best gas for cooling stuff. Oh my goodness. I've frozen the hydrogen. Shit. Lower. Not too... Whew. Okay, I'm getting too efficient that it's freezing the hydrogen. This is weird. I'm super cooling the hydrogen too much that it's turning into lovely, lovely hydrogen ice. Look at that. That's hydrogen ice right there. It's liquefiable. That's not good. But also that's great because now I have, look, there it is, liquid hydrogen. I can now set this to liquid hydrogen. And then let's watch it flow. Well, these things are still pretty warm. But yeah, I have liquid hydrogen. Liquid oxygen is nowhere to be found. Well, I'll call this a success. I've been recording for nearly an hour. I was thinking this is gonna be a shorter episode. But I guess I mean, it's raining hydrogen, so I'll call that a success. I'll even, you know what, just for good, I know it's gonna burst the pipes and turn into hydrogen gas again, but you know, just for demonstration's sake, there it is, hydrogen in the pipes. There we are. It's actually, wait, it's actually staying there and not condensing for some reason. I might be stupid in trying to do this, but I was trying to do this with not insulated pipes, but I guess I have to do it with insulated pipes. But hey, I'm making hydrogen rain. Yeah, I guess I'll call it there, and I think oh wait, never mind. Liquid oxygen. This is good timing. I was about to call it quits there. Because again, let's see this go. Heat damage, it's fine. There it is, liquid oxygen. Hey, demonstration done. My pipes are bursting. But yeah, I guess for now I'll call it quits here. I showed a bunch of stuff and I did what I set out to do, which I said in the beginning of this video, which was condense liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And here we are. But for now, I guess this is the end of the video. I'll get back. I'll get back with another video once I find out what I can do to make this much better. Also, this steam turbine is on full power, so that's a lot more power for me, and it seems to have stabilized at 230-40 degrees, which is fine. But yeah, that's it for now. I got liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, albeit it's still failing, but you know what? For now, that'll be it. I'm rambling over and over and repeating myself. Alright, goodbye.